Happy day, everybody. Happy new month, October 1st, 2023. Happy Independence Day, Nigeria. Please, this is Orekoya Olusegun Physics Mathematics Fundamentals on YouTube. I'm your friend. Please, do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and click on the notification button to have more of my video. Today, we are taking a topic in mathematics, and that topic dwell on finding the inverse of a function. Before I solve a problem, I will give an illustration on what do I mean by the inverse of a function. Like for instance, let's say I have a function f of x. The function f of x is equal to s squared plus 3. In this case now, this function f of x, I can use a single letter to represent this f of x. What I mean by function f of x is that the behavior of variable x under the process of this system. The system is this f. F is performing a work on this variable x. Because of the work this f is performing on this variable x, the x behaves in such a way that it squares itself, then 3 is added. That's the meaning of this expression that we have here. Like for instance, let's say I have a system. This is my system. This is a system. You see? The input, the system has inputs, and it also has outputs. So this system now, the process is function f. Now the input is what you are putting inside this system. Let's say it's x. So by the time this system work through this function of f, the output is such a way that this x is squared, then 3 is added. That's the meaning of this expression that we have here. Now the question says find inverse. Find inverse. What I mean by defining inverse is that we want to put this output as our input. What will be the output? Like for instance now, this output that I have here, I want to start it off. That means I'm putting this output back into this system. The output originally is s squared plus 3. So what will now be the output? So this system is performing what is called inverse operation. You can see this is called inverse operation. So that is the idea. Now mathematically we can work out the inverse starting from this function. I want this function f of x to represent with letter y. So I will say y is equal to s squared plus 3. Because we know that our x was originally the input, we want it to be to work in such a way that it will no longer be the input. Now what we are going to do now is that instead of putting our x to be the input, we want to put y as our input. So the necessary way of doing this, before I work it out, the inverse is normally written as y raised to power minus 1. This is called inverse. Inverse of variable y. That's the inverse. That's the mathematical expression for inverse. So what we normally do is to make x subject of formula. So how do we do that? Plus 3, when you take it to the other side of the equation, or you can add 3 to both sides of the subtract 3 from both sides of the equation to remove these 3. So for me to remove plus 3, I will add minus 3 to both sides. S squared plus 3 minus 3. So you can see plus 3 minus 3 becomes 0. So I have y minus 3 is equal to s squared. Now we want x to stand alone. We do the inverse operation by removing these 2. What do we mean by that? In order to remove these two, we use the law of indices. For me to remove these 2, I must multiply these 2 by its own inverse. Inverse of 2 is half. So whatever I have done on this side, I must do it on the other side. So what I'm going to do now here is x raised to power 2 times 1 over 2. Whatever I've done here, I must do it on the other side. So here now I have y minus 3 also raised to power half. So these 2 cancel these 2. So now we are now have x is equal to y minus 3 raised to power half. According to law of indices, power of half means square root of. But when you are taking square roots of an expression, you must write plus or minus. So I write it as square root of y minus 3 is equal to x. Now this x now is the inverse of this operation. So I'll just write it as f inverse x. So you replace the y back with x. So you now have plus or minus square root of x minus 3. So this is the inverse operation. So that means when you input this output back into this system, what we are going to have here is going to be plus or minus square root of x minus 3. That's the idea of finding inverse. Now, back to our question here. The question says, find the inverse of g of x given as square root of x squared minus 3x. So let me create a space for us to see how we can go about this type of question. Now, before we solve this kind of equation, I will introduce certain things along the line, but I will tell you what I'm going to introduce. So in this case now, let our g of x, let's use the same with a single letter y. So I can rewrite this one now as g of x to be the same thing as a single letter y, which is square root of s squared. So just like that, g of x is equal to y, which is equal to square root of s squared, then minus 3x. Now, in this case now, we want to make x subject of formula. How do we do that? Make this x out formula means we want to allow x to stand alone. So what I will do first is to remove this square root sign. According to law of indices, the square root sign actually means raised to power half. So this thing is same thing as raised to power half. To remove this half, I must multiply half by its own inverse. The inverse of half is 2. So for this half to cancel out, I multiply it by its own inverse, which is by 2. Whatever I have done on this side of the equation, I must do it here too. So this one being times power 2. So and I have y squared is equal to s squared minus 3x. 2 cancel 2 raised to power 1. So this one become y squared is equal to s squared minus 3x. Now, if I factorize this x out, there is no way I can make x to stand alone. If I want to make this x stand alone, there is still x here. So what do? We now introduce the idea of what is called complete the square. Completing the square method. Before I can solve this problem, let me introduce the complete square method. Let's say I have s squared minus bx. This is the process. Remove x on both sides. This is the first step. Remove x here, you have x left. Remove x here, you have b left. The next process is to divide whatever that is here by 2. Then you square everything you have. Whatever you have here, subtract it and square it. So this is the process of completing the square of an expression of this nature. So we can simplify this expression as x over 2 raised to power 2 minus b square will give us minus b means minus b square we have fed up and down according to law of indices. So minus b square means minus b times minus b. That will give us plus b square all over 2 raised to power 2 give us 4. So I've completed the square of this particular problem to be this. So we are going to use this process. And then if you can see, after I've done my complete square, I've been able to isolate x alone. Instead of having x, I have a simple x. That's the objective of going through this complete square method. So for me to allow this x, so that means this process now, I cannot make x so a formula. So back to this process, we use the completing the square, complete the square. So how do we complete the square? Like I said, the process, remove x from this. So you have x minus 3. Whatever you have here divided by 2, square the whole part, then subtract whatever that is here and square it back. So my y square becomes what I have here. Now, you write y square is equal to x minus 3 all over 2 square Open this bracket. Minus 3 square means minus 3 times minus 3. That is plus 9. So this will become 9 all over. 2 square means 2 times 2, that is 4. To make x on the formula, carry this to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to have y squared plus 9 all over 4. Plus 9 all over 4 is equal to x minus 3 all over 2 squared. Now here I can find the SCM. SCM of 1 and 4 is 4. So I can write it as 4. 1 in 4. 4 times y squared gives us 4y squared. Plus 4 in 4. 1. 1 times 9 gives us 9. Is equal to x minus 3 all over 2 squared. Now to remove this square, I must make sure that I find the inverse of 2. The inverse of 2 is 1 over 2. So multiply both sides by 1 over 2. The whole process here, let me rewrite to create a space. Let me continue my working here. So I have 4y squared plus 9 all over 4 is equal to x minus 3 all over 2 squared. To remove this square, multiply this power by its own inverse. That is times half. Then multiply this one by the same half. Whatever you have done here, you do it here. So half of this one means square root of. So to find the square root, you say plus or minus square root of this expression. 4y squared plus 9 all over 4 is equal to 2 cancel 2. So it's left one with x minus 3 all over 2. Now, the meaning of this one means find the square root of up and down. The square root of up remains as it is. You cannot find the square root with a sum. It remains the same as it is. If this were to be multiplication, you can find the square root of 4y squared and square root of 9. But because it is plus, if it is plus or minus, you cannot find the square root. But if it is multiplication or division, you can find the square root. So this one remains as it is. All over square root of 4 means what number you multiply by itself to give you 4. That number is 2. Is equal to x minus 3 all over 2. So this now brings us to another step of work. Let me create a space for us to finish up the work. So what I have here now, I have plus or minus square root of 4y squared plus 9 divided by 2 is equal to x minus 3 all over 2. We want x to be the subject of formula. So we carry minus 3 over to the other side. When you carry this one, this minus becomes plus. Or you add the inverse of minus 3 over 2 to both sides of the equation. The inverse of minus 3 over 2 is plus 3 over 2, so that this can cancel out. Or you say you carry minus 3 over 2 to the other side. When you carry it, this minus becomes plus. Or let me add the inverse to both sides. So remove minus 3 over 2, add plus 3 over 2 to it. So you write x minus 3 over 2 plus its own inverse, that's 3 over 2. This inverse that you have added, you must add it here too. So you have 3 over 2 plus or minus square root of 4y squared plus 9 all over 2. So the whole of this with its own inverse becomes 0. So you now have x is equal to 3 all over 2 plus or minus square root of 4y squared plus 9 all over 2. Since they have the same denominator, if denominator can combine together, so you can now have 3 plus or minus everything all over just square root of 4y squared plus 9 is equal to x. Now, this particular x is the inverse function of the original function here, which means inverse of g raised to power minus 1. That is the inverse. The moment you have got the inverse, you replace this x with y or with dx. So this will become 3 plus or minus square root of 4y squared plus 9 divided by 2. Then if I say let my y the g of x originally. So I replace this place. So this will become 3 plus or minus square root of 4 times g of x squared plus 9 all over 2 is equal to inverse of g of x. So this is the inverse function of this function that is given originally. I believe that you must have learned one or two things concerning the issue of inverse function and the function itself. This is Orekoya Olusegun. This is Mathematics Fundamentals on YouTube. Please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and click on the notification button. Once again, happy Independence Day, Nigeria. Have a nice day. Bye.